Imagine this. You're sitting across the table from her. Candlelight dances in her eyes. The wine sparkles in her glass, and her smile, so easy, so effortless, makes you question everything you thought you knew. For a moment, you wonder, could she be the one? But something's off. You can't put your finger on it. Her words sound right, but they feel wrong. She laughs, but it echoes like a rehearsed line. You talk, but you don't feel heard, only watched. You leave the date not with excitement, but with a strange fatigue, like you've been drained, not connected. You shake it off. She's just nervous, you tell yourself. I'm probably overthinking it. But what if you're not? What if what you felt was real, only invisible? What if you just sat across from someone who looks high value, but isn't? What if the modern world has become so obsessed with appearances, likes, filters, and performance, that many women and men have completely lost sight of what actually makes someone valuable? What does it mean to be a low-value woman? Not in the petty, judgmental sense, not in the clickbait, superficial, gossip column sense, but in the psychological, existential, soul-deep sense. What is a woman who drains rather than builds? Who copies the image of femininity but lacks the essence? Who demands attention but offers no depth? Who weaponizes beauty to mask emotional poverty? You've seen her before. You may have dated her. Hell, you may be with her now. She isn't always loud. Sometimes she's polite, even poised. But something in her energy is hollow, like a song written only with hooks, no verses. She may flood your senses, but leave your spirit parched. Here's the paradox. She can be successful. She can be beautiful. She can be admired by others, and still be empty inside. She can know how to flirt, how to pose, how to win over a room, and still carry no internal compass, no emotional gravity, no real self. Now here's the great question. If you cannot measure value by charm, beauty, or success, what do you measure it by? And if you miss the signs, what does it cost you? Your peace? Your purpose? Your power? This is not about blame. This is about truth. The truth about the kind of woman who mimics virtue but lacks it. The kind who thrives in a world that rewards image, not character. The kind who leaves men confused, depleted, and spiritually numb, while the world keeps telling them, you should be lucky to have her. But what if luck has nothing to do with it? What if value isn't something seen, but something felt? And what if there are 12 clear signs you can use, not to judge, but to protect yourself, to see clearly, to stop investing in illusions and start demanding reality? The deeper we go, the more uncomfortable this will get. You may recognize people you know. You may recognize yourself. But discomfort is not the enemy. Blindness is. So take a breath. Ask yourself, do I know how to recognize a low-value woman before she costs me my peace, my time, or my soul? Because once you learn these signs, you won't just see her differently. You'll see yourself differently. And that changes everything. Let's begin. Number 1. She sees herself as the prize, but offers no growth, peace, or purpose in return. She's been told all her life, you're beautiful, you're special, you're a queen. But she's never asked herself, what am I giving the world beyond my appearance? She expects to be chosen, not to contribute. She wants a king, but has never become a queen within herself. Number 2. She thrives on attention, not connection. Her currency is likes, stares, compliments. She's addicted to the spotlight because she's terrified of silence. In real intimacy, where attention disappears and soul is revealed, she's lost. Number 3. She weaponizes femininity to manipulate, not to nurture. Soft voice, seductive eyes, but behind it, control, strategy, performance. Femininity becomes a mask, not a gift. She uses vulnerability to bait, not to bond. Number 4. She has no mission beyond herself. No passion, no pursuit, no creative fire. Her life revolves around being seen, not being of service. She cannot support your purpose because she has none of her own. Number 5, she despises other women. Low value hides in envy. She competes, gossips, tears down, especially those who threaten her image. She calls it keeping it real. It's really insecurity in disguise. Number 6, she avoids accountability like fire. It's always someone else's fault. Her exes were toxic. Her job was unfair. Her friends were jealous. She rewrites every story to protect her ego, never her growth. Number 7, she confuses chaos with excitement. Stable love feels boring to her. She craves drama, conflict, emotional roller coasters, because she equates peace with emptiness. But real love? It's calm, and she mistakes calm for lack of passion. Number 8, she has no self-respect in how she gives her body. She uses sex as currency, not as a sacred bond, but as a tool for validation, power, or control. And the more she gives without standards, the less she sees her own worth. Number 9, she views men only as providers or playthings. You're either a wallet or a toy. She doesn't see your spirit, only your use. She cannot receive your love because she only sees value in what she can extract. Number 10, her values shift based on who she's around. She mirrors crowds. She conforms. One day, she's spiritual. The next, she's savage. She has no inner compass, only trending identities. Number 11, she cannot sit with her own emptiness. She's always distracted, always online, always busy. Because to be still would mean facing the void inside her. And that's the one thing she can't afford to do. Number 12, she makes you doubt yourself, but never doubts herself. Every issue is your fault. Every feeling is your problem. She gaslights. She twists. She wounds with a smile. She projects her own emptiness onto you and makes you carry it. These are not just signs. They are symptoms of something deeper, something few are willing to name. And that's exactly what we'll do next. But first, ask yourself, if you've seen these signs, what are they really symptoms of? That answer is coming. Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. There is a sickness in modern womanhood, but it didn't start with her. She did not invent the mask she wears. She inherited it. What you see in the low value woman isn't simply personal failure. It is the shadow of an entire culture. A culture that told her, you are not valuable for who you are, but for what you appear to be. And so she performs. She shapes herself into a spectacle. She masters attention, but loses authenticity. She becomes a mannequin of seduction, frozen in beauty, hollow in spirit. But why? To answer that, we must go deeper into the hidden architecture of her psyche and yours. The age of the mirror. Carl Jung once said, the world will ask you who you are. If you do not know, it will tell you. The low-value woman never answered that question herself. She let the world define her. Social media, celebrities, broken mothers, absent fathers, hyper-feminist slogans that confuse empowerment with entitlement. She did not build an identity. She downloaded one. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to survive in society. But when the persona becomes the only self, the soul suffocates. She becomes addicted to being seen because she is terrified of being known. Her reflection becomes her God, her phone, her altar, her followers, her congregation. She builds herself not from inner substance, but outer symbols, handbags, selfies, status, bodies, stories. Her value becomes a performance, but performances are exhausting. And so is she. The myth of the empowered woman. Nietzsche warned us, he who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. In fighting patriarchal oppression, many women lost the thread of femininity altogether. They replaced softness with sarcasm, nurture with narcissism, sensitivity with superiority, vulnerability with vengeance. The low-value woman is not strong. She is shielded, not by inner strength, but by defensiveness, cynicism, and the armor of superficial power. But here's the paradox. Her confidence is fake, and she knows it. She's full of anxiety, self-loathing, and envy, but she hides it beneath bravado, filters, and clever captions. She looks bold, but inside, she's brittle. And so she attacks, not out of malice, but out of survival, because to admit weakness would mean facing her own internal collapse. Schopenhauer and the will to appear. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that behind every desire lies a deeper force, the will. Not the will to truth, not the will to love, but the will to survive through illusion. The low-value woman does not desire you. She desires the feeling of being desired by you. You are not a partner. You are a mirror. She uses your admiration to avoid looking inward, because if she ever sat in silence long enough to meet her own soul, she might find it starving. The role of the father, or lack thereof. Many low-value women are forged in fatherlessness, not always physical, but emotional, psychological. The absence of a strong, grounded, masculine presence creates an invisible wound. So she seeks attention from men, not out of love, but out of longing, not to connect, but to prove something. I am enough. I am worthy. I matter. But no man can fill that wound. And so she repeats the cycle: seduce, consume, discard. And when that fails, she blames, not because she hates men, but because she cannot yet love herself. The cult of individualism. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free." Today, women are told, be anything, do anything, follow your truth. But what if your truth is twisted by trauma? What if you never had a model of self-respect, humility, or discipline? The low-value woman is drowning in choice, but starving for wisdom. She confuses rebellion with freedom, and ends up a slave to her own impulses. She rejects tradition, but offers no sacred alternative. She abandons femininity, but doesn't understand masculinity. She wants to be powerful, but doesn't know what power is. So she copies it. She imitates the worst traits of broken men: dominance, arrogance, coldness, thinking this will make her equal. It doesn't. It makes her bitter. The psychology of emptiness. Modern psychology calls it narcissistic wounding, a fragile self built on external validation. The low-value woman cannot hold her own emotions, so she seeks men to regulate them for her. But when men fail to be her emotional butler, she punishes them. Passive aggression, gaslighting, withdrawn affection, not because she's evil, but because she's empty. And emptiness always echoes the loudest. She may appear high maintenance, but the real maintenance she needs is internal. Aldous Huxley and the Seduction of Comfort. In Brave New World, Huxley warned us, people will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. The low-value woman is addicted to comfort, not just material comfort, but emotional laziness. She doesn't read. She scrolls. She doesn't reflect. She reacts. She doesn't evolve. She escapes. TikTok, memes, gossip, drama. Her world is a circus, and she performs every day, not because she's having fun, but because the silence of truth would destroy her illusion. But here's the most dangerous part. You can't see any of this from the outside. She can be smiling, polished, successful. She can say all the right words. She can even think she's a good person. But deep inside her, there's no center, no roots, no mission, just a swirling cloud of borrowed identities, unfinished grief, and spiritual starvation. And if you don't understand the psychology behind her behavior, You'll confuse her drama for passion, her charm for depth, her neediness for love, and you'll pay the price. So the next time you meet her, whether on a date, on an app, or in your own life, don't just ask, "What does she look like?" Ask, "What does she value?" And if the answer is nothing real, walk away, because what's hidden in her will soon be transferred into you. This is not just about women. This is about a cultural disease, a soul-rot masked as freedom, a spiritual vacuum glamorized as empowerment. And if you think you're immune to its effects, you're not. Because the next stage is even more terrifying. What happens when this sickness becomes normal? What happens when society rewards the low-value mindset? What happens when the symptoms become the standard? The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. Carl Jung. It doesn't hit you all at once. Not like a crash, more like a slow leak. You meet her. She's magnetic, mysterious, compelling. At first, you feel drawn in, like you've discovered a hidden treasure. But slowly, things shift. Subtly, quietly, you begin to doubt yourself more often. You feel drained, even after small interactions. You hesitate before speaking, unsure of how your words will be twisted. Your dreams shrink. Your vision fogs. Your energy drops. You're no longer growing. You're maintaining, surviving. Your life becomes a loop of emotional firefighting. This is the unseen cost of bonding with a low-value woman. But it's not just personal, it's generational, cultural, civilizational. Let's pull back the curtain. The identity drain. When you connect with someone whose identity is hollow, they don't just consume your time, they consume yourself. Because intimacy is not just physical, it is energetic, psychological, even spiritual. You begin to shape yourself around their dysfunction. You lower your standards. You filter your truth. You suppress your masculinity, your leadership, your clarity, your hunger, because it threatens their illusion. You become a caretaker, a therapist, a punching bag. Not because you are weak, but because you are trying to help. But the tragedy is, you can't help someone who is committed to their mask. So you sacrifice your depth for her image. And the longer you stay, the more you forget who you are. The emotional economy collapse. In a relationship with a low-value woman, emotions are not shared. They are weaponized. She uses guilt to control, silence to punish, praise to manipulate, tears to reset the narrative. She doesn't communicate to connect. She communicates to win. And over time, you stop sharing. You stop feeling safe. You bottle everything up until your own emotional landscape becomes a war zone. This is not love. It is emotional debt. You give, she takes. You adjust, she demands. You show up, she moves the goalpost. And one day you realize you've been investing in someone who resents the very thing you offer. Neurological damage, the addictive bond. You think you can just walk away? Not quite. This dynamic rewires your brain. Psychologists call it trauma bonding, a cycle of reward and punishment that mimics addiction. The dopamine rush of her validation, followed by the crash of her withdrawal. The hope of change, followed by the slap of reality. Your brain learns to chase highs and tolerate lows. You begin to confuse intensity with intimacy. Chaos starts to feel like love, and when peace finally appears, it feels foreign, even boring. You're no longer in love, you're in withdrawal. The death of vision. Every man is born with a seed, a dream, a mission, a silent calling. But to bring that seed to life, he must be supported, not sabotaged. The low-value woman does not nurture your mission, she distracts from it. She floods your world with demands, drama, and destabilization. Your creative energy is spent decoding her moods instead of building your purpose. Your drive turns into doubt. Your edge turns dull. And slowly, your kingdom crumbles. Not because you lacked power, but because you gave it to someone who never knew what to do with it. The cultural catastrophe. Let's zoom out. What happens when millions of low-value women are celebrated instead of corrected? You get a culture where narcissism is mistaken for confidence, where emotional chaos is glorified as passion, where femininity is commercialized but not understood, where depth is mocked and image is worshipped. And men retreat. They either go numb, go soft, or go dark. They become avoidant, resentful, checked out. Relationships collapse. Families fracture. Children grow up emotionally malnourished, raised by women who never matured and men who never showed up. And the cycle repeats. The cost to future generations. Carl Jung warned us, the unlived life of a parent becomes the psychological burden of the child. A low-value woman raises children not from wisdom, but from wounds. She mothers with fear, control, and projection. Her daughters learn to seduce, not to love. Her sons learn to submit, not to lead. And worst of all, those children grow up normalizing dysfunction. They repeat it, or attract it, or become it, not because they're broken, but because they were never shown what wholeness looked like. The collective illusion. We live in a time of inverted values, where image is currency, truth is offensive, and illusion is the new reality. The low-value woman is not just a personal relationship risk. She is a symbol of everything we've lost: depth, grace, wisdom, meaning, self-respect. And if we don't confront this now, honestly, brutally, with compassion and clarity, the next generation won't even remember what a high-value woman is, because the counterfeit will have replaced the real. And yet, here's the catch. The low-value woman is not your enemy. She is a reflection, a symptom, a byproduct of deeper spiritual poverty. She is what happens when we trade soul for status, when we confuse performance with personhood, when we abandon the sacred and worship the superficial. She is not the disease, she is the fever. A warning, a wake-up call. But if you don't wake up, you will spend your life loving illusions and losing yourself. The question is no longer, what is a low-value woman? The real question is, how do I become the man who no longer tolerates one? That is where we go next. Because once you see the truth, you can't go back. And in the next part, we reveal the ultimate truth, the final, piercing realization that will shatter illusions, purge the poison, and realign your soul. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. There comes a moment, often in silence, when the chaos finally settles. No drama, no manipulation, no confusion, just you and the wreckage. The messages you didn't reply to, the emotional games you finally stopped playing, the hollow words you no longer believe. The woman you once thought was everything, now just a whisper. You sit there, staring into your own reflection, maybe on a quiet night, maybe in the morning mirror, and it hits you. She was never the problem. You were. Not because you're broken, but because you forgot who you are. You were seduced, not by her beauty, but by your own blindness. You betrayed not her, but yourself. You saw the signs. You felt the unease. But you chose illusion over intuition. You chose comfort over clarity. You chose the fantasy because the truth required change. And now, it's time to wake up. The ultimate truth, your value defines hers. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you tolerate. The low-value woman exists in your life because you allow her to. Because something in you, some echo of insecurity, some unhealed story, believes you don't deserve better. That's the real disease. Not her brokenness, but your bargain. The moment you raise your standards, the mask falls. She either evolves or exits. But either way, you are no longer enslaved. Not because she changed, but because you remembered your value. The man who sees clearly can never be deceived. This is your initiation. You must become the man who sees. The man who isn't fooled by filters, caught in curves, or hypnotized by performance. The man who doesn't chase beauty, but awakens it in the women around him. The man who leads with soul, not ego. Because the ultimate truth is this: low-value women disappear when high-value men stop needing them. When you stop outsourcing your validation. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing yourself. When you stop playing therapist to broken lovers and start becoming whole. You don't need to fix her. You need to fix your gaze. From illusion to initiation. You were not born for comfort. You were born for clarity. This is not just about women. This is about your soul. You are not here to be emotionally toyed with, spiritually drained, or energetically depleted. You are here to build, to protect, to love with backbone, to lead with light. But first, you must become dangerous, not to others, but to the lies you've told yourself. Because here's the final paradox. The only reason you met the low-value woman was to confront the low-value man within. The part of you that tolerated disrespect, that feared loneliness more than mediocrity, that chose surface over substance, that confused attention with affection, that gave away power in exchange for presence. Now that part dies. The sacred rebirth. Do not just reject the low-value woman. Transcend her by becoming the man who no longer fits into her world. Not through rage, not through revenge, but through rebirth. Read again, build again, heal again, let again. Because in doing so, you don't just save yourself. You restore the world. When a man reclaims his soul, he becomes a mirror that awakens the sacred in others. And suddenly, low-value women either rise or vanish. The return of the sacred feminine. Here is the final gift. When you become whole, you will no longer crave the counterfeit. You will begin to recognize real women. The kind who build, not drain. Who see you, not just your utility. Who stand beside, not beneath. Who radiate femininity as essence, not performance. You will feel them in their stillness, their presence, their grace. And you will realize they were always there. You just weren't ready to receive them. Because the truth is, you don't attract the woman you want. You attract the woman who reflects your readiness. So here you are, not broken, but awakened, not jaded, but clear, not angry, but anchored. She will come again. Different name, different face, same mask. But this time, you'll see her, and you'll smile, not with cruelty, but with compassion, because you've outgrown her world. You are no longer the man she can manipulate, because you've remembered the man you were born to be. So walk away, not because she's beneath you, but because your destiny is beyond her. And when you find her, the real one, the sacred one, the woman who sees with soul, you will know all the pain was the path, all the fire was the forge, all the loss was the lesson. And you were never looking for her. You were becoming the man who could meet her. Now rise, because the world doesn't need more men chasing low-value women. It needs more kings,